Do you want to stay more focused on the right goals in your life, or even just figure out what the right goals are for you? Do you want clarity? Do you want better work-life balance? Well, you're in the right place. Welcome to Success Through Failure.
Welcome to the Success Through Failure podcast, the show that reveals failure as your path to success. You'll listen to intriguing interviews with some of the most successful people on the planet and learn how their failures became a launchpad for success and how yours can too. Here's your host, former Division I All-American wrestler, former Division I head coach, speaker, and personal coach, Jim Harshaw.
Welcome to another episode of Success Through Failure. This is your host, Jim Harshaw, and today I bring you another solo episode. It's been 100 more episodes. It's been 200 episodes since I started this thing, and 100 episodes ago was launched, episode 100 was launched July 2nd, 2017, and this episode launches June 10th, 2019, so almost 2 years. I don't think I've missed an episode, missed a week in the past 2 years. I don't think so anyway. I've definitely missed some earlier on, a week here, a week there, but anyway, been pretty consistent. But man, it's hard to believe 200 episodes. So I'm pretty excited to bring you this best of episode. I'm going to bring you the best lesson from the top 10 most listened to episodes of the past 100 episodes. So just the best lessons from the most listened to episodes of the past 100 episodes. So if I sound like I have a little bit of extra energy in my voice this morning or today, whenever you're listening to this, it is because I finally got in our family camping trip over the weekend. Wasn't exactly like one of my old adventures where I was paddling class 5 whitewater in my small kayak playboat, or almost getting washed away on a riverside like I did one other time, actually. That's a funny story. I was camping on the side of a river by myself. Actually, I had a stray dog with me. That's another whole story. But had this stray dog with me. We would walk down this hillside, waded across the river, slept on the riverbank, woke up in the middle of the night in the water. The water had actually flooded. The river had actually flooded overnight. That I found out the next day a dam released. And I was laying literally in the water. Had I not woken up sooner, might have gotten washed away. It was pretty dangerous, actually. And woke up, hunkered down in the middle of the night in the thick brush next to the river edge, and just hoped that the river would subside so I could actually wade back across the river, get up the mountain, back to my car. And so I just sat there all night on the riverbank, on the river's edge, and all my gear had gotten washed away. So I had literally had a knife and a can of beans and a dog with me. So hours and hours later, the river finally subsided, and I was able to walk across and get back to my car. Anyway, it wasn't exactly one of those adventures, but it was an adventure with my wife and 4 kids, and we had a great time getting out. It's funny, man. My kids are like any other kid. They're they love their video games, they love their iPads. But man, you get them outside, and they're in their element. They forget about everything, right? You get them on the kayaks, you get them just walking around in the woods and the forest and along the river's edge. They're picking up rocks and throwing them in and finding every third rock they find. They show it to me like, Dad, look how cool this rock is, right? And it's just human nature. It's ingrained in them. Man, I just love getting them outside. It just breaks them free of not only the video devices and iPads and TV, but also just getting out of the neighborhood and getting out and doing something totally different. So anyway, that was a good weekend excursion for the family. But here's what I want to do with us today. With this episode, I've got these top 10 lessons lined up for you. But here's the deal. You're going to get a lot here, okay? There's 10 different episodes I'm going to reference. And there's going to be a lot. And I want you to just pick a few that resonate with you. And I was talking with a friend recently, and she told me that she had attended a webinar. And she said, man, this whole webinar, went through this whole hour and a half long webinar, and I only got these 2 takeaways. And she told me what they are. And they're like game changers, like total game changers. Out of like the 15 things that were taught in that webinar, she picked up 2. She's like, I only picked up 2. Like 2 is perfect. Like that's what you need. Like there's going to be a lot of things that you're probably doing well, you're probably doing right. But if you can pick up 1 or 2 things from this episode that can be game changers for you, they can change your life. They can save your life. They can change your marriage. They can, help you make more money. It's the little things, right? So that's what I'm going to hope that you get out of this episode. Just these little things. Here's another quick example. A friend of mine launched a business course that had like 10 or 15 modules. This is several years ago. I took this course, and there's just one module that really impacted me. It was module 8, but it was a game changer. It's absolutely changed my life. Module 8 of his business course. So I just want to reiterate to you that you don't have to have just epiphanies with all 10 of these lessons I'm about to share with you. But if you can pick 1 or pick 2 that impact you, I implore you to utilize those, put those in place in your life. I'm going to give you the episodes to reference. And by the way, all this is going to be in the action plan. So if you forget which episode number or forget the lesson or whatever it is, it's all going to be right there in the action plan. And I'm going to reference a bunch of these episodes here. So if you hear something you like, you can go back and listen to that episode. You can download that action plan. By the way, if you do download the action plan, in the very first email you get from me, if you go to jimharshawjr.com/action, the very first email you get from me gives you a link. And that link is like the secret link. It's like the magic link. And just save that, bookmark that, save the email or bookmark that link. And every week when I put up new action plans, that's where they go. You'll be able to just instantly access those at any time. So, all right, here we go. Let's go from episode of the top 10. We'll go from 10 down to 1. Okay, so from 10 down to 1. All right. Episode number 163, titled Courage, Suffering, and Doing Hard Things. Insights on living from former Navy SEAL Rourke Denver. So Rourke Denver, amazing dude. Just such a fun episode and great conversation. He and I had some great conversation after the episode was over as well. But he was a Navy SEAL. And actually, if you're interested, I've done now 4 episodes with Navy SEALs. So episode 45 with Mark Devine, 132 with Tom Shea, and 166 with Eric Davis, and 163 with Rourke Denver. If you go to jimharshawjr.com/seals, SEALS, you can just grab all these episodes. You can just listen to all of those. But anyway, here's a couple of quick points from him. Actually, this one was from his wife. He says, when my daughter says it's hard, he says, my wife says, well, that's okay because you can do hard things. What a powerful, short little lesson for teaching our children. Well, yeah, it's hard. I know tying your shoes is hard, but you can do hard things. That's okay because you can do hard things. What a great message just to plant into them early on. Another one is he talked about the value of suffering. And he said, I think it serves us as an anchor point or a baseline of understanding of what you can handle. And he talks about suffering as being, quote, an inoculation for the hard times that you weren't planning for. So this is voluntary suffering. Sign up for a race or do something hard. Test yourself physically, mentally, test yourself. Do something that's hard. And when you do that, I go back to what Joe DeSena, founder of Spartan Races, what he said to me when I interviewed him on the podcast. He said, if you test yourself, if you push yourself, if you do hard things, then you'll find yourself being happy. You could be happy just eating a cracker in the rain. It's like you can find happiness in that, right? Because that's what we're all seeking is happiness, fulfillment, satisfaction, right? So jimharshawjr.com/163 If you want to listen to that episode, or you can go back and listen to it on whatever podcast player you're listening to right now. Rourke Denver, 163, Navy SEAL, all the other SEAL episodes, you can find those, all 4 of them at jimharshawjr.com/seals. All right, number 9, episode 190, titled Escape the Status Quo, Shifting Your Mindset to Become a Better Leader. This is with Michael O'Brien. He's a sales and marketing executive business coach. And the one of his great quotes that he said was, we can learn from our failures. We can learn from our hiccups, but we can only get there if we have awareness and acceptance. That's the key. Awareness and acceptance. You can't fail and then just keep doing the same thing. Or you can't fail and then settle and give up on your goals, give up on your hopes and your dreams. If you fail, you need to pause, productive pause, like I've talked about, and have the awareness and acceptance of that failure and learn from it. If you don't, you're not going to get the value of failure. There's a great TED Talk. I don't know if it's a TED Talk or TEDx Talk, but it was referenced by Tony Bennett, the head men's basketball coach for University of Virginia, national champions. And in this TED Talk, he mentions that failure will buy you a ticket to a place you could not have gotten to otherwise. And that's the case here. That's what Michael O'Brien is saying in episode 190. So I urge you to check that one out. All right, number 8, episode 176, titled Finding Your Place in the World, From Rock Bottom to World Champion, with J'den Cox. J'den Cox was a 3-time NCAA champion wrestler and a world champion. And this one great quote that I pulled out of that episode was, accept that failure is a possibility. Go figure. A world champion isn't saying failure is not an option. He's not saying, do or do not, there is no try. Bull. Like, failure is a possibility. Failure's an option. That's exactly what he says. Accept that failure is a possibility. It could happen. It could happen. If you're trying to do hard things, if you're testing yourself, if you're pushing your limits, if you want to try new things, you want to grow as a person, you want to do amazing things, you want to live an amazing life, guess what? Failure is a possibility. And if it happens, what do? We pause, we learn from it, right? Awareness and acceptance, like we learned in episode 190. Failure is a possibility. This guy's the best on the planet at what he does. Failure is a possibility, and that's okay. Okay, episode 175 is the next one. So this is number 7 in our countdown, is episode 175. It was titled, Making 2019 Your Best Year Yet, a step-by-step system for doing a year in review. Now, you might be saying, well, Jim, this isn't relevant for me right now because it's not around the new year. I don't know when you're listening to this, but it doesn't matter. If you haven't done a year in review, do it now. You don't have to do this on a calendar year. You can do this whenever you want. If you've not done it, do it now, and then do it again a year from now. Right? It doesn't matter when you do this. So, I have a really detailed breakdown of how to do your year in review, and I include things like, the simple sort of stuff like get in a quiet spot, and then also make sure you drink a lot of water, plenty of water before you do it. Maybe even get some exercise in. Make sure you eat healthy food so you can be really present, really mindful, really aware, have good energy going into this session. And usually for me, it takes at least a couple of hours. I like to book at least 3 hours or set aside 3 hours for something like this. And then what you're going to do is you're going to review your prior goals, look at what worked and what didn't work. You're going to do some journaling on your prior goals, what worked, what didn't work. And you're going to do some journaling and thinking on what you want. And then download the goal setting template. If you go to jimharshawjr.com/action, there's a template there for writing out your goals and certainly you can go a lot deeper into, what I teach in my program and Reveal Your Path about discovering what those core values are that should be tethered to those goals. But this is a great way just to start your year in review. So you can get the action plan and just look at some of the other details there about how to do your own year in review. All right, number 6 is episode 130, How to Be Confident and Focused in Life with Dr. Isaiah Henkel. Isaiah, I've had him on twice now, episode 14, way back in episode 14, and then again in episode 130. He's an internationally recognized speaker and author. He helps individuals, teams, and organizations develop a more entrepreneurial mindset to accelerate their business and personal success. He says this, he said, don't ask yourself how you can get more hours in a day. Ask yourself how you can get so much energy that you can do more in a minute than would take other people an hour to do. And really think about that, right? How do you put yourself in a place where you can have energy, this mindset, all the physical things that have to go into that, right? Think about how you can, think about the days where you have just great days, really productive, really locked in, really focused. How do you replicate that? He also talks about taking the responsibility for yourself and providing your own sense of happiness. And he goes on to say, everything that happens to you in your life, it may not be your fault in the sense that it happened, but it is your fault in terms of how you respond to it. So really accepting accountability for where you're at right now, right? And you might be saying, yeah, but, I know, there's the yeah, buts, but take the responsibility yourself to respond to it in the right way. All right, that's episode 130. All right, number 5, halfway there. All right, number 5, episode 162, How to Set, Revise, and Follow Through on Your Goals, Even When Life Gets Crazy, a framework for making goals work in the real world. And this is a solo episode. This is just me. And I really share in detail my system for setting goals. I go through the whole process. I'll give you 3 quick points here. 4 areas to set goals: relationships, self, health, and wealth. Another one is make them measurable and concrete. Don't say, I want to be more fit. Say, I want to lose 10 pounds, or I want to run a marathon, or I will work out 3 days a week or more. Right? Be concrete, be measurable. Third little point here is set long-term goals. Don't set goals that you can achieve like next week. Sometimes I work with folks and they set a goal of, I want to sign up for a 5K. Well, okay, you can do that in like the next 15 minutes, right? You can just put that on your to-do list for today. So set a longer-term goal. Make sure they're long-term goals, things that you can strive for over time. And then you can, part of, maybe you want to run a 5K. And so, part of that, one of the first action items is to sign up for a 5K, or maybe figure out which one it is you want to sign up for, right? You can have these sort of micro goals that lead up to the larger goal. All right, number 4, episode 179, The Power of Bold, Facing Your Fears and Taking Committed Action with James Fell. James Fell is a motivation, health, and fitness writer for the Los Angeles Times and Chicago Tribune. He's authored pieces in Time Magazine, The Guardian, Men's Health, Women's Health, and many other publications. And he said this, I love this quote. You ready? He says, action is the antidote to despair. I'll extend that a little bit. Action is the antidote to failure. Action is the antidote to doubt. Action is the antidote to fear. Take action. Move forward. Not sure what direction to move? Just start moving one direction. You'll know after you take that first step, you'll realize, okay, that was the right first step, or that wasn't the right first step. You've got to just move forward. Don't be stuck. Take action. Another point here, he talked about the crystallization of discontent. And this isn't something that he invented, but it's just a topic that I found really fascinating. The crystallization of discontent. He said, you can nudge yourself towards these epiphanies by analyzing the different bits of dissatisfaction in your life and thinking about them, turning them over in your mind and working on them. So the crystallization of discontent. Do you have discontent in your life? Are you unsatisfied? Are you unfulfilled? Well, start doing some thinking about why. Like, what is it? Right? Don't just kind of think about it real quickly while I'm talking right now. Actually, maybe sit down and do some journaling. Do some meditation on it. Do some prayer on it. Have a conversation with somebody on it. What is it that is bringing you that discontent? Get outside of your own head. If that's something I can help you with, let's jump on a call, jimharshawjr.com/apply. We can set up a time to talk, free call. But this is that crystallization of discontent, man, where you can finally figure out what it is that's leaving you discontented, unfulfilled, unsatisfied. Then you can actually take action and get to work on it. Okay, so that was episode 179. Next one, episode 143. This is number 3. We're down to number 3. Top 3. Here we go. Top 3 most downloaded, most listened to episodes in my past 100 episodes. Here we go. 143. Fear, doubt, in achieving greatness. The unlikely story of Olympic gold medalist Helen Maroulis. Man, this woman is amazing. She's the first ever Olympic gold medalist female from the United States. Yes, women's wrestling is an Olympic sport. It's been so since, I think, 2004 Olympics, if I'm not mistaken. And as a matter of fact, as of the recording of this episode, it just got recommended as an NCAA emerging sport. So college women's wrestling is coming. That's actually here, but it's going to be an NCAA sanctioned sport, I predict, in very short order. So pretty exciting. But anyway, so Helen is just amazing. This episode is just incredible. She said, here's a quote. She said, "The more I chase perfection, the more I'm actually setting myself up to be unhappy." Right? Go back to the other world champion that we talked to, Jaden Cox, I mentioned in the earlier episode about failure being a possibility, right? Failure is a possibility. You're not going to be perfect. And Helen says here, the more I chase perfection, the more I'm actually setting myself up to be unhappy. You can't achieve perfection. You can be the best version of yourself, but you're never going to be perfect. And that's okay. She talks about in this episode, and you can see, I actually went back and I looked. I think in the action plan, I had a link to this video of her right before her Olympic finals match against the best wrestler in the history of our sport in terms of most decorated wrestler. This woman has many, many world championships. She's from Japan. She's just unbeatable. And, male or female, she's the most decorated, most successful wrestler in the history of the sport. And Helen's got to wrestle her, right? And Helen is standing next to her before they come out of the tunnel, staring straight forward, and she's repeating her mantra, God is in me, I am enough. God is in me, I am enough. God is in me, I am enough. And you can see her mouthing these words. It's fascinating to watch it. And then she goes out, and what does she do? She wins against all odds. Unbelievable. And she tells this story about being overweight, maybe not overweight in the sense that everybody thinks of it, but overweight in a wrestler's sense, and just pretty far over her weight class, about a month or so before the Olympics. And she's training overseas and actually competing, wrestling, practicing against some people who were potentially going to be in her weight class, and she's losing, and everybody's beating her. And they're not only beating her, but she's actually bigger than them. She's bigger and should be, a little stronger, but she's losing, right, to all these people who are in her weight class or people she could be competing against. And think about the doubt that brings. She actually talked about like walking back to her dorm or her hotel in tears. This is the Olympic gold medalist a month before the Olympics, right? How are you right now? Did you have that moment yesterday or last week or last month? Well, guess what? You could have your best moment a month from now, a month from that moment. You could have it a day from that moment, right? We don't see this, right? We don't hear this stuff. We don't pull back the curtain enough on these champions, these elite performers, to know that your success is possible despite, or maybe even because of, these failures, these struggles, this doubt. Okay, that was episode 143. Man, I love that one. All right, next one, 115, titled Imposter Syndrome, Biohacks, and Inventing the World's Next Must-Have Gadget with Sam Shames of Ember Labs. Sam is actually a client of mine. He's a Pathfinder, which is a graduate and alum of the Reveal Your Path program. He's an MIT grad, entrepreneur, COO, and co-founder of Ember Labs. He has they have this cool device called the Ember Wave. You put it on your wrist, and if you're cold, you press a button basically, and it warms up this bracelet against your skin, makes you feel warmer. If you're warm, you press the other button, you press the temperature down, and it brings a cool sensation feeling to your wrist and helps your body feel cooler. Pretty cool. But what he says is everyone was a beginner at some point. Everyone was a beginner at some point. So when you think about what you want to achieve, you're like, it's so far away. Guess what? Everybody was a beginner at some point. And he also talks about the only failure is not trying. He said, quote, I think it's just realizing that no matter what you're doing, if you're doing it for the first time and it's challenging, you're going to feel like you don't belong. There's that universal voice in your head that says, no, you can't do this. It's that place of self-doubt. And he said, I think calling it out by name is the first step, like identifying it, right? Like calling it out by name is the first step to challenging and changing the conversation in your head and saying, yes, I'm afraid. Yes, I don't know what I'm doing. Yes, I don't know if I'm going to succeed. But the bigger failure is not trying. It's not showing up. It's staying silent. And it's not raising your hand. So think about that, right? Yeah, I know you have doubt. I know you want to achieve great things. I know you have more in you. You've got to face your fears and step into this. All right, last one, number 1. Here we go. Episode 149. This was the most downloaded of the last 100 episodes. Get this. Are you ready? 149, Run on Rocket Fuel, the truth about the ketogenic diet with Drew Manning. I've had Drew on twice now. This most recent time, episode 149, we talked about the keto diet. We just talked about nutrition in general. One of the things he said that really stuck with me is, quote, we're overfed, but we're undernourished. Man, let that sink in for a second. We're overfed, but we're undernourished. We have plenty of food, more food than we need. But we don't get the nourishment out of that food that we need. He also talks about food addiction. I didn't think it was a real thing, but I kind of can see it even in my own life. Like sometimes I'm like, man, I feel like I have to eat, right? Even though I know I don't need to eat. And he says this, here's what happens to our bodies when we eat Cinnamon Crunch, Pop-Tarts, and those kinds of things. He said we get a spike in blood sugar, which feels good to our body. It's almost like a high, which is similar to drugs in a way, where we get this high, but with that high, then we crash. After that high, we crash. And when we crash, we feel horrible and miserable. Our body is telling us, I like the feeling. I want to get back to that high again. Let's get back to that feeling again. Then you have a whole can of Pringles and some soda, and then you feel good again for about a minute, and then you go back to feeling horrible again. And then there's this cycle, right? So pretty powerful if you think about that, right? And trying to release yourself from that cycle. He also talks about intermittent fasting, which is a thing these days. And I've done intermittent fasting for, I don't even know, a year now. It's just kind of what I do. I love it. It's really helped me minimize actually it's been over a year. So, because it was before I recorded that podcast episode with Drew, which was 51 weeks ago. So it really helps me feel clear. And it's just a good thing for me that I've really enjoyed. So anyway, there you go. There's your top 10 episodes from the past 100 episodes. Ton of stuff here. Go to jimharshawjr.com/action. Grab the action plan because I got all the lessons in there. I'm going to have links to all the other action plans in this action plan and links to all the episodes right in this action plan. So tons of great stuff here. One of the other things I want to point out that I did in the last 100 episodes, I recorded a series called Defining Moments, Facing Fear, Taking Action, Speaking Up, and Moving On. And I broke that into 4 separate episodes. And you can get all those episodes by going to jimharshawjr.com/defining moments. So those were some popular episodes. Those, not that you're going to remember all this, but those were episodes 182, 183, 185, 187, 182, 83, 85, 87. So you can grab those as well. It's kind of like a mini course in creating the life that you want. That's a lot of stuff. I hope you digested and just took a couple of pieces out of that. If you got value out of this episode, please share it. Just share it with somebody. That's how this thing grows. And I know you're sharing it because I see my numbers growing, my download numbers growing. Thank you. Thank you so much for that. And you can go to jimharshawjr.com/share if you just want to do a quick one-click, post to social media. It's all written there. You can just click on it. It opens up a post on social media. It's all pre-written. You can edit it or you can just click submit. So thank you in advance for that. As always, take the time to get clear on your goals and embrace failure as a stepping stone on your path to success.